Welcome to Sunday Evening Reset, the show where we take everything that stressed us out this week, threw it in a we're doing this great. Threw it in a metaphorical trash can, set it on fire, and watch it burn while sipping chamomile tea. Look, I don't know how your week went, but if it was anything like mine, you probably considered rage quitting life at least one time. Maybe it was the coworker who sends per my email like a passive aggressive sniper, or maybe it was sitting in traffic questioning your life choices, or maybe, just maybe, it was the moment when you opened your fridge and saw nothing but condiments and regret. And you realized you have to go back to the grocery store again. Well, that's why we're here. Sunday is our reset button. A chance to shake off the nonsense, take a deep breath, and get our minds right before Monday tries to suplex us into the ground. Tonight, we've got an incredible lineup for you for the opening show. We're kicking things off with some much needed positivity because, let's be honest, the world is a dumpster fire. This show might be too, but the world is definitely a dumpster fire. But that doesn't mean we can't find some good in it. Then we're breaking down 5 major stories from the news, so you can sound informed without actually doom scrolling for hours. And after that, we're tackling stress and negativity because, let's be real, most of us are one bad email away from losing it. I'm there. I'm getting there. I might be there. And finally, we close the night with something powerful. Tonight's sermon is all about breaking free and walking in the kind of freedom that only comes from faith. So grab a drink, put on your comfiest sweatpants, and let's hit that reset button together. Just a moment here. It seems I broke something, governor. See, this is why I said it was going to be a dumpster fire right here. It's already starting out. It's great. It's good times. Yeah, boy. All right. Let's, I'm just pushing buttons now. Okay. Yeah, we're going to try this again. Okay. I'm going to get this. I swear I am. I promise. It's pretty bad when the show script actually tells me what to do and I don't have it queued and ready to go. Yeah, because that's life. Here we go. We're going to play this.
I've been knocked down, I've been bruised and scarred, felt the weight of the world, yeah, it hit me hard. But every sunrise paints a brand new sky, and I'm still standing, I'm not asking why. It's a winding road, yeah, it twists and turns. You gotta feel the rain if you wanna watch it burn. That's life, it'll cut, it'll heal. It's the pain and the joy that makes Sometimes it takes the dark to see what's bright. That's life. It'll cut, it'll heal. It's the pain and the joy that makes it real. It'll take you high, it'll throw you low, but you keep on dancing, you never let go. Through the storm, through the fight, keep your head held high. That's life. Yeah, that's life.
So let's start with some daily affirmations, shall we? Now, before I start these, I want you to really just do me a favor and stop what you're doing for just a minute. Just stop what you're doing and just sit down and do this with me. I want you to repeat after me. I am strong. I am capable. And I am exactly where I need to be. Maybe you didn't get that all the first time. So I'll go back and we do it again. I want you to say it like you mean it. Okay? I know sometimes it may be hard and may not feel like it, but say it like you mean it because it is true. So let's try this one more time, okay? So I want you to repeat after me. I am strong. I am capable. And I am exactly where I need to be. How did that feel coming out? Did it feel like there was a little bit of a, little bit of a weight taken off of your chest, like it did me? Because believe it or not, I'm the one that creates these episodes, writes the episodes. I have a very hard time saying this, so this is just as much therapy and help for you as it is for me. So yeah. All right. Are we ready for the next one? Okay, here we go. Repeat after me. I release the weight of today and I embrace the peace of now. Say that with me again. I release the weight of today and embrace the peace of now. And the last one, I am not defined by my past. I am stepping into a greater future. I'll say that one more time. Repeat it with me. Say it with me. I am not defined by my past. I am stepping into a greater future. Now, take another deep breath in and just blow out. And tell me you don't feel better, a little better already. All right, well, tonight we have the privilege of hearing from a woman named Carolyn Trusty. She is incredible in strength and resilience. She is an 80-year-old veteran, entrepreneur, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. Carolyn served as an Army nurse in the Army, later opening a restaurant and campground in Fallen Rock, Indiana, before returning to nursing until she retired. Her story is one of perseverance, breaking barriers, and being a powerful woman in a world that often tried to hold her back. So it is with my great privilege, I now play for you the interview with Grandma.
I was born in Hammond, Indiana, uh, because my dad and mom had moved up there to work in the steel mills during World War II. We lived there until I was about 2 years old. Then we moved back down to the farm in Park County where they were from. So I grew up living on the farm, which was the greatest farm. That's the greatest life ever as far as I'm concerned. I really learned to love the outdoors and everything about it. Grew up going to church every Sunday. It wasn't a question of whether we're going to church. It was get ready, we're going to church.
Yeah.
It's Sunday. So,
Yeah,
my folks were very good Christian people, and they believed in bringing the kids up in church, and that's exactly what they did. They made us strong Christians that way. But yeah, we had a comfortable life. I won't say that there was no way we were rich, but we got by just fine. We didn't know we were poor.
Right.
And probably would be considered poor today, but we never wanted for anything really that we needed, and always had plenty to eat and clothes on our backs and a home over our head. When we first moved back down there, we moved to the farm where my mom had been born and raised, and there was an old farmhouse there, and it was so old that it had the living room of it had been a log cabin, and then they built around it, added on to it, and but it still was very small, had no indoor plumbing, so that was not a real nice place to live. But
yeah, especially during the winter if you have to go outside.
yeah, my sister then came along about 7 years after me, and Dad decided, well, this house really just wasn't going to do any longer, so he tore it down and he built a new one in the same place. And that's where I lived the rest of my growing up years, and the house is still standing there. But that was he farmed and he ran a Mansfield mill with his dad. They had bought that back in the mid-30s, and when he came back from Chicago, they went back to run the mill, and he farmed along with it. So yeah, he made a decent living, but it was not there was never excess money to throw away for sure.
Right. For the people that don't know what the Mansfield mill is, would you care to explain it to them and let them know what our family had a part in?
Yeah, my dad went into partnership with his dad and bought it in about 1935. It's a feed mill. Had originally also had made flour years before, but it's old. It was built back in the 1800s, and
this was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was one of the first hydropowered mills. Is that correct in Indiana?
It was a water powered mill, but it was run by turbines under the mill.
Yeah, and that was always the coolest thing to go and see too.
Yeah, and of course became quite a tourist attraction when the Covered Bridge Festival began there in Park County.
And now it's owned by Park County.
It's now owned by the state. It's been declared a national historical site. So yeah,
it definitely is.
Yeah, it's still running. They can still make cornmeal. They sell cornmeal there during Bridge Festival or certain holidays that they open it. I don't think it's open all the time, but they do open it from time to time, and they still grind cornmeal for consumption.
I didn't know
The
that.
chief, the chief business that my dad did with it, he did sell some cornmeal, but that wasn't mainly what they made money on. It was just a convenience for people. But
Right.
he ground up food for the livestock, and mixed mixed different feeds for the livestock, for chickens and cows and pigs. All those, they all require different food. So
Yeah.
he ground it and mixed the food for the animals, and he bought corn from the local farmers mainly. He didn't get anything from the outside any further than his neighborhood. It's a real locally owned business.
So, how did your family and upbringing influence your decision to join the army? And what was the experience like for you as a woman in a male-dominated field?
Well, I, as as I was growing up, of course, we went to the school there in a small consolidated school in the area. And at that time, there were really not much in the way of careers for women. You either went into teaching or nursing, or you became a secretary.
Right.
And that was about the extent of it. So I had always thought I wanted to go into nursing, so I did. I chose to go to nursing school, and my my brothers had both been in military. Like I said, my oldest brother made a career of it. My other brother was in for a couple of years. So I always looked up to them because they were in the military. I was proud of my country, and I was proud of the flag, and I was proud to know that they served. I had been in nursing school for a couple of years, and my sister was still in school at home, and knew it was putting a burden on my parents. So when the Army recruiter came out to talk to us, when the spring of my junior year, I guess it was, he mentioned that they would pay for my last year of schooling if I would commit to 2 years of service. I said, well, that sounds like a good idea. And my parents weren't real happy about it, but they didn't have any objections, so
Yep,
I
that
signed up.
old that old army gets you in there. We'll pay for the rest of your
Uh,
schooling. Give us two
yeah,
years of your life.
yeah, right. Yeah, that was an extra incentive. I thought, well, that would be a good experience anyway, because uh, as I went in, I went into the Army Nurse Corps, which is kind of an entity of its own in the Army. It's totally separate from a lot of the different parts of it. That was a plus. I mean, we had our basic training class was nothing but nursing graduates. We had to pass our state board before they would then put us on active duty. But that's we had to take state boards the summer after I graduated. And as soon as I passed state boards, why I got my orders. Went down to Fort Sam, Houston, and San Antonio, and took basic training, which taught us how to be an Army nurse on top of being a nurse. When we went for basic training, they sent us out for a week or so into the desert, and we had to set up a field hospital like you would have seen on the show MASH. You remember that?
Yep.
That used to be on TV. That's basically what we did. We set up a field hospital, and we went through maneuvers and learned how to sort out patients that were coming in, and what was the most important things to do first. And it was emergency training, but it was emergency training on a large scale.
Right.
Because you might have multiple casualties all at the same time coming in.
So,
Yep.
obviously, nursing has always been looked at as a female dominant career field. Being in the army, were there challenges that you had to overcome with the army in general being a male dominated career field?
Somewhat. Yeah, I don't think it was as bad in the Army as it was in civilian life even.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, because uh, being in the Army Nurse Corps, we were probably at least 50-50, men and women. There
Right.
were there were a lot of, I mean, male nursing was becoming much more popular about that time. In fact, we had one male nurse student in our class, in school. But a lot of men that when they got out of nursing would go into the army or the military because it was better pay than they
Yeah.
could get in a civilian hospital. Because nursing was never famous for high pay. They always just said, we don't pay a lot. It's the rewards of the job that pay you.
That's the same thing
But
with
that
Winnipeg.
doesn't raise a
thing they told
family.
Same thing they told mom about being a teacher.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's just the rewards you're supposed to
Yeah.
appreciate. Well, it is a very rewarding career, and I've always enjoyed nursing.
Right.
But yeah, there were challenges at times, and I don't know if there was. I wasn't in the army really long enough, I guess, to know whether there was a difference in the in making rank. I don't know if that made a difference between men and women, whether the men tended to make rank faster or not. I don't know. I went in as second lieutenant, and I came out as a first lieutenant. So I got, after a year, it's pretty much um, customary that they would promote you to first lieutenant in the second year that you're in.
Right.
But as long as you were doing your job. But as far as beyond that, I'm not real sure. I did have a good friend that went in the service with me at the same time. She and I joined the army at the same time. Well, she got out after her 2 years, and then she worked in a civilian hospital in California for a couple of years, and she found that it wasn't as good as it was in service. So she joined the Air Force then,
Oh
and
wow.
she stayed in the Air Force until she retired. But I think, from what I saw with her ranking, it seemed like it took her a long time to make the rank that her counterparts in the male part of it would have made it. She did end up retiring as a bird colonel.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
That is
But
amazing.
that was very near the end of her service. I don't
Right.
think she made it, until pretty close to the end of that. But uh, as far as pay is concerned, it's pretty much based on your rank and your time and grade. And the longer you're in, the more you make as well.
Right.
But in civilian life, not so much. You have to have an evaluation every year, and according to what they decide they want to give you, is what you get. And I did work at a place one time that we had a male nurse hire on, and it came up time for evaluations, and he come out after his evaluation, and we'd already had ours. He come out bragging about how much of a raise he got, and talked about his salary, which they weren't supposed to do. Of course, they could get in trouble for that.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I'm pretty sure that's any
he was
job.
so proud. He was so proud of himself that he just had to brag about it.
Oh.
And yeah, and so we said, hey, that's a lot more than we're making, and you haven't been a nurse as long as we have. You haven't been here working at this place as long as we have. Why have you get this big raise? He said, well, because I have a family to raise. We said, well, we don't. They considered, the man was always the head of the family, so he was supposed to have the bigger salary. But they didn't consider the fact that a lot of times women are raising children by themselves as well.
The
They
man.
don't. That's the way. Yeah, that's the way it was. Well, that woman didn't have time to do much else. She might take in laundry or, uh, you know, babysit the neighbor's kids or something, or sell eggs or whatever she had to do. But she basically had to take care of the home. But nowadays the women are expected to take care of the home and work outside the house, because a lot of times, they can't make enough money with one salary to get by,
Yeah.
which I
Well,
think is very sad, because it's a shame that children are having to be raised in daycare centers and such because the mom has to work. Well, that
I
attitude is changing. It is. I've seen that with my kids and grandkids. they
Yeah.
they have seen a difference there. I've seen the men taking a more active part in caring for the kids and caring for the house. No, even with my husband, he never thought that the house was anything he needed to help take care of at all. He'd change a diaper if he just had to, but that wasn't he didn't do it very often. Women just have to keep speaking up and keep fighting for it. That's the only thing I can say,
That's right.
because we still only make about 75% of what the men make for the same job, because they're not supposed to tell us what they're making. You know, that's you about have to sign in blood when you go to work somewhere. You don't discuss salaries, and
Nah, you don't
and that's
discuss.
why they don't want you to discuss it. They don't want you to know there's inequality. That money
Uh,
won't buy you happiness. Happiness.
let's talk about Mr. Lewis Trusty. Tell
Yeah.
me about my grandfather. How did you meet him?
Well, he, like I say, he was a patient. He came in and was admitted as a patient there at Walter Reed. He had just come back from Korea with a severe case of hepatitis, where he almost died over there before they got him treated.
Oh,
And they sent him back to Walter Reed for recuperation. And that was when I met him. And he was on one of my boards that I covered. And when he was discharged, a week or so later, why he put at me to go out with him. So we started dating. Uh, Army had a problem with it because I was a commissioned officer and he was an NCO. Two totally different social groups in the Army, and they
yeah.
didn't like it because and that was something they had stressed when we were in basic training. You know, you don't as officers you don't have anything to do with the enlisted
Yeah.
personnel. Yeah, I was raised with Christian ideas, and I thought, you know, that's not right. Why should I treat somebody who's an enlisted person any different than I would treat someone who's an officer? I know, you know, army wise, you had to have rank over different ones, and
Yeah.
if he had been uh, working under me, you know, as like say a corpsman on my ward, that would have been a different story. But he wasn't. You know, I had just merely met him because I had seen him there as a patient, and but we got married about 3 months after we met, and they really didn't like that. I had to request the Army to change my name. They wouldn't even change it until I put in a formal request and got it approved by the Army.
Now,
And then when
you,
we went to Korea, he got to go with me because he pulled some strings and got on orders. Whenever I got orders for Korea, he said, "Well, I'm not letting you go over there by yourself."
I was
And
just about to
uh,
ask you if that was the story you told me about him going to the Pentagon to get orders
right,
to go.
he ended up they kept waylaying his orders, and when he put them in, and so he ended up. We drove back to Washington after we'd been, excuse me, on leave in Indiana. And we drove back to Washington. He walked his papers into the Pentagon, and he didn't quit until he got a hold of the right person. he he come back to the place where the little room I was staying in that day with orders in his hand, and he said, "We're on the same flight together." So he'd been in the service for about 9, 10 years when I met him. So he already knew his way around the service. So he knew how to get what he wanted to get or what he needed to get. And so he got on orders and went with me. Well, that didn't really solve everything, because when we got over there, then they were laying for us too, because they already had heard that there was this Army lieutenant and an enlisted man that she's married to, and they're coming here to our base,
Oh boy.
and we're not going to make it easy for them. And
Yeah.
so the first thing they did was ship him up close to the DMZ, a long ways, you know, from where I was at 121 Evac. He, of course, immediately started working on finding a way to get transferred back down to the area where I was, and he did. He managed. somebody there at Campo Air Base. He had been stationed close to that engineers battalion right by the base, had been stationed there before. They were still there, and they knew him. And he got hold of him and said, "Do you need a mess sergeant down there?" Because he had gone into as a mess sergeant when he was there before.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, we sure do." And he put in for transfer, and they sent him right back down there, which was only a couple, maybe 3 or 4 miles from where I was stationed. But then they wouldn't give us quarters.
Oh, of
They
course.
said, "No, there's no quarters available because this is an unaccompanied tour normally." Which wasn't true, because there were guys over there that married Korean women and they gave them quarters, but they weren't going to give us quarters. So we just went and rented us a house out in the village on the economy, which was really fun because we got to know the Korean people, like they really were, and
Yeah.
and it was a very good experience that way. Met a lot of really nice people over there.
Well,
But they never let up on us. They still just kept trying to
yeah,
make it hard on us.
but
When I went in to see my CO the first time, she said, first thing she said to me when I walked in the door, "I guess you married the wrong person." I said, "Well, I see this is not going to be fun."
But I mean, honestly, he showed you a type of love that most people don't get to even really encounter. That's one of those, I'm gonna do anything and everything for you. Life or death dependent on it
Uh-huh,
because you're my wife,
uh-huh.
because I love you. You know,
I
there.
never doubted for a moment from the time for the first time he told me he loved me, that what he did, and until the time he died, he was a strong head of household. I mean, he always took care of things that needed to be taken care of, and he was the one that had the dream for the business. He wanted to go in business for himself, and he did run a couple of businesses there in Tennessee. We lived in Tennessee right after we got out of service, and he had a small restaurant there for a while, and it wasn't enough space for him to expand it, and he couldn't make enough there to really make a good living at it. So he sold that, and him and his brother built a packaged beer store near his brother's business,
Yeah,
and he ran that for a while until we decided to move to Alabama, and he worked with his brother down. He had a brother that lived in Alabama, kept after him to come help him in his air conditioning business. So we moved down there for about 3 years. But we came back to Indiana basically to buy a business. We bought the business there in Park County, and that with the restaurant and the campground and all of that. And
so speaking of the restaurant and campground, um, you and Grandpa were owners of the Fallen Rock restaurant and campground for how long?
uh, we were there from 75 to 88.
I mean,
We
and
we ended up having to close the restaurant in 83, I believe it was, because of his health. Uh, he was diagnosed with severe heart disease, had to have open heart surgery in 1980, and he was never able to really go back to work after that. He had been supplementing the income by selling cars uh, when I wasn't working in the restaurant, because it was the little restaurant, and of course being a campground, it was out in the country, and it was difficult to get to it in the wintertime, so we didn't even try to open it through the winter, and we only ran it like on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We ran it over the weekends because it wouldn't support business all week. It just wasn't enough. It wasn't close enough to population
right.
enough to
Yeah.
keep it going. They don't do anything with it. It's just it's in a cliff, uh, a lot of cliffs in that little area there, kind of like
Yeah.
Turkey Run Park. Uh, they say the during the Ice Age, it washed out those areas under those rocks and made these cliffs that overhang. And this rock fell from the top of one of those cliffs. It was just a big, huge, almost round rock that fell off. They used to call it, they said, the dancing rock, and people would get up there on uh, Friday, Saturday night, and they'd have square dances. They danced on top of it,
Heck
and
yeah.
and uh, and that but until it fell, and and then it fell. It ended up on the road below,
Yeah.
and the story was that there was a couple that were crushed under it, and going under it with a carriage when it fell.
Oh man.
Don't know if that was truth or legend, but anyway, we heard all kinds of stories about the place when we moved there.
All right. I have to ask because as you know, as you probably know, a lot of people know, and I know, owning a restaurant is one of the hardest businesses that you can own. I mean, you are
It's
literally set up for failure from the
uh
beginning, and
right.
it's not because of who you are, what the color of your skin is. It's just restaurants do not usually do good.
Well, and to boot, this was in the '80s. If you know what the
Yeah.
economy was like in the '80s.
On top of that, it was in the middle of nowhere. So
uh
what motivated you and Grandpa to buy this restaurant in Campground?
It was just a dream, I guess. Uh, we thought this is a great place to raise the kids, out here in the middle of the country, and then we found out that it wasn't as safe out there as we thought. But but my kids did enjoy growing up out there. There was a pond there that they could fish, and there was lots of area to explore. That they really enjoyed living there, and mushroom hunt and this and that. But yeah, we just kind of bought it because we thought it would be something neat to do and a good place to raise the kids. It was a family business. We always included the family, all the family.
Uh,
Her and her brother both worked in the restaurant. Uh, our youngest, Jonathan, wasn't quite old enough. He was only about 2 years old when Lou had to have the open heart surgery, so he was not old enough to do much in the restaurant by the time we moved. But it had to be it had to be a family business in order for us to survive. Uh,
right.
my mother came in on Fridays, and she would do a lot of our baking for us. And of course, I enjoyed spending time with her that way too. But she was a big help that way. And whenever we were open, why much of the time the younger Jonathan stayed with his grandmother and granddad. They kept him and saw to it that the kids all got to Sunday school and church on Sunday morning because we would be getting the restaurant ready to open. It had to open on Saturday and Sunday, so
Yeah.
we had a little problem getting that worked out, but it all did, and it was just you just had to trust in God that you was going to make it. He's got to be the center of anything that you do, any endeavor you attempt, or any relationship that you're in.
Right.
If he's not in the center of it, it's not going to be a success. And we just had to go to him for guidance and support, and we depended on our families and our church family. Other believers kept us in their prayers and supported us, and a lot of our business, of course, came from the local community. But we also, word got out, and we had people coming from even out of state.
So your faith has been an important part of your life throughout various challenges and successes.
Hmm.
Can you talk about how your relationship with God has helped you navigate difficult times or make tough decisions?
Yeah, you just have to stay close to God. That's all I can say. You have to remain in the Bible, in the Word, and prayer. Many a time, I've spent much time on my knees because I didn't know what was going to happen the next. That we had all kinds of things to happen when we lost Lewis's mother. Just as we had moved to Alabama, she died suddenly, and then about the time that we moved to Indiana, we lost his dad, which really made us think a lot about, maybe we need to be where we can be a little closer to family while we have the opportunity.
Right.
And that was one of the considerations when we moved back to Indiana, was that it was close to my parents, who were getting older by that time too. Being near your family has a lot to do. There's a lot of support there, but my church family helped a lot. We had really struggled when after Lewis got sick. He was never able to work again full time. We still kept the restaurant open for a while because he did mostly the accounting and he worked with the customers and did the ordering and that sort of thing. He took care of most of the suppliers and that sort of thing that he could do without a lot of physical problem. But I worked in helped out and managed the kitchen and helped back there, and it just you have to remain close to God, or if you're not moving closer to Him, you're moving farther away. And when you get far away from Him, there's no support there for you. Difficulties can either bring you closer to God or they can pull you away. I chose to let it draw me closer, and that's the only way that I saw to get through. Got through the death of Lewis, and I was left with a 13-year-old teenager to raise too after he died. A lot of challenges there.
Yeah.
It's just been. It seems like one thing after another. There's always going to be rough times in life, but you just have to be strong and depend on God. I always think about that poem that called "Footsteps in the Sand." Have you ever read that?
Yes.
About where you see two sets of footprints in the sand, and then sometimes there's only one, and that's when He's carrying you. Yeah.
Exactly.
So He's carried me a lot. I've had to depend on Him a lot that way, but He's always been there, and He's always helped us through. Somehow we made it. Nothing's ever easy, but it's easier if you do it with God.
Looking back on your experience as a woman in non-traditional roles, how do you think your relationship with God prepared or equipped you for those challenges?
Oh, it's the base part of anything. It's the underlayment. You have to have a base to build on, and if you don't have God as a base, you don't have anything. He gives you the strength that you need if you just ask for it.
So, as someone who has lived through significant historical events like the Vietnam War, I mean, you were alive for the Korean War, civil rights movements, women entering the workforce. When you look back, what lessons have you learned or wisdom have you gained over the years?
Well, you have to stand up for yourself. If you don't, nobody's going to stand up for you. You got to stand up for yourself, and you have to keep fighting for what's right. And you have to talk to God about what is the truth. What is right. Do I really have the right to ask for this or that? Well, if it's right, if it's right in God's book, it's right. The truth is all there. I found over the years, it just keeps coming back to repeat. No matter what you're doing, you have to you have to know what's right and go for it. That's all you can do. You battle against the wrongs in our society. That's what you should do.
So, are there any specific stories, lessons, or values that come to mind when thinking about, say, the legacy you want to leave behind for your loved ones or your friends or community?
I don't know. Just basically what we've talked about. Yeah, family has pretty much always been first place next to God, and we've always placed family above everything else. You know, my husband and I, whenever he was here, we always put our family above everything else. Whenever we did anything, we considered them first. What we thought, was right to do. Whenever you do that, and you look to family and friends for support when you need it, you always go to God. He'll give you the strength, and He'll give you the guidance.
Amen. And last but certainly not least, if you could go back and give your younger self advice, what would it be?
Well, there was a time back when I was having to work full time after Lewis got sick. It was very stressful. I had a couple of teenagers in the house and a young one.
Hmm.
And yeah, very stressful time. And he was, when Lewis was in and out of the hospital about every other month whenever he was having all those heart problems for one thing or another. And I was still working full time. I was working at the hospital. The people at the hospital had no concern about what I was dealing with at home, of course. They could care less. And was forced to work hours that I didn't really want to work, but I didn't have a choice at the time. And eventually I broke. I wasn't, I decided, I didn't take care of myself, apparently. I was worried about, making a living for the family. I was worried about taking care of him. I was worried about taking care of the house and my job.
Right.
And I didn't pay attention to what was going on with me inside. And maybe I wasn't as close to God at that time as I should have been either. But I found myself in a deep depression. And I had to go in for treatment for a couple of weeks. And I thought, after I come out, I thought, looking back, I saw all the signs. They were there, that I was headed that way. I ignored them. And I've learned from that experience that you don't ignore signs, whether it's your physical health or your mental health or your spiritual health. When you see those signs, you need to take note, and you need to do something about it. That's probably the one thing that really taught me a lot.
But
You have to recognize it and and admit to it. I mean, that's the biggest problem. People don't want to admit that they're weak in one way or another,
mhm.
and that's the way it's looked at as a weakness. Well, it's not. It's physiological many times or neurological, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it. I think it's beginning to come to light a lot more now than it ever has. But years ago, that was just something you didn't talk about. You didn't, nobody wanted to acknowledge it. They didn't used to recognize it at all. With my medical background, I know different.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what really floored me when I sank into this deep depression. I can't believe that I didn't recognize it, when it was happening
Well, I mean,
until it did,
because you're trained to find it in people who are not you.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. It can't happen to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's an attitude most everyone has. Oh, this or that can't happen. I mean, things like that happen, but it can't happen to me. That people
Yeah.
drive recklessly because they think they don't have an accident. That can't happen to them.
absolutely amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the interview. It's actually the shortened interview that I had with my grandma. I will be posting the entire episode. I'm sorry, the entire interview, not episode. Man, my mind's in a bunch of different places right now. I will be posting the entire interview with her, the uncut, because this was 39 minutes and 15 seconds, which was exactly about 20 minutes longer than what I originally expected. And the full recording is an hour and 15 minutes. So I'm really, really excited to be able to get that out. I want people to, go and listen to it and just hear, because I mean, she had a lot of stories. And I always love talking with her because she has stories, and they're not the same boring ones that, Grandpa Joe with Alzheimer's tells you, because he forgets that you belong to him. And by that, I mean, you're kin to him. Anyways, so we're going to take a quick break, and after that, we are going to get into the news. Here is a quick word from our show sponsor, Factor 75. All right, before we dive into the news, let's talk about something we all need. Food that doesn't require us to cook. Meal prep, or pretend we know what macros are. Factor 75 is a meal delivery service that actually tastes good. I'm talking chef-prepared, never frozen meals delivered straight to your door. No grocery shopping, no dishes, no questionable homemade meals that you stole from your coworkers that you will later regret. Nope, you just heat, eat, and get on with your life. And right now, the Sunday evening Reset listeners are getting 50% off their first order plus free shipping as long as you use my code FACTOR, SE65403 at checkout. Again, that is FACTOR SE65403 at Factor 75. 50% off your first order and free shipping. It's a deal.
Sky's a little gray. People shouting louder, but no one's got much to say. We're caught up in the chaos, the noise that won't die down. But maybe we could turn it around, yeah, turn it all around. They say walk away, don't stoop to their lows. But maybe it's time we step in and show. Be the better person. It ain't about just standing tall, it's the ones you help after the fall. Be the hope that someone needs when their world is breaking. Be the hand to lift them up when their heart is aching. Be the better person. It's easy to feel broken when you're up against the wall. To let the world convince you there's no point to it at all. But every hand extended is a bridge we've got to build. And every heart forgiven is a wound that starts to heal. It's not about the glory, it's not about the pride. It's the love you carry deep inside. Be the better person. It ain't about just standing tall, it's the ones you help after the fall. Be the hope that someone needs when their world is breaking. Be the hand to lift them up when their heart is aching. Be the better person. When the fire gets hot and you're ready to help after the fall. Be the hope that someone needs when their world is breaking. Be the hand to lift them up when their heart is aching. Be the better person. Yeah, I'll be the hope that someone needs when their world is breaking. Be the better person.
All right, let's get into it. 5 major stories from this week that I think you should know about. Starting with the Super Bowl. Let's see if there's a winner. There is not a winner yet, but right now the score is the Eagles 40, the Chiefs 6. So, sorry about your luck there, Patty Mahomes. I think you're going down, bud. Also, it was my mom who texted me, and she said, because I completely forgot that the Super Bowl was actually on, because I was too busy getting ready for this today, and my mom texted me and she's like, I have no idea who this halftime show performer is, but I like him. I like rap. And I died laughing. And the first question I asked her, I said, are you stoned? Because if you knew my mom, her saying that she likes rap, especially somebody like Kendrick Lamar, and a lot of you know why. So for her to say that, it just I lost it, and I let my fingers type before my brain processed what I was sending. But anyways, so yeah, apparently it was an amazing halftime performance. I don't know, I didn't watch it. All right, up next. You're gonna love this. Elon Musk expresses affection for President Trump. Social media reacts. In a recent post on X, billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk stated that he loves Donald Trump. The declaration garnered significant attention, leading to a flurry of jokes and discussions about the perceived bromance between the two figures. So, tech Elon Musk has officially declared his love for President Donald Trump. On Saturday, Musk wrote on social media X, his social media platform X, Donald Trump. However, the Tesla... It says, I heart Donald Trump. However, the Tesla company added a condition to this declaration and said, as much as a straight man can love another man. That's right, folks. Elon Musk loves him like a brother, but does him like his uncle. I'm sorry. We're not getting to this negativity part anytime soon. This is my bad. Anyways, so Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., found Elon Musk's post hilarious and reacted with laughing emojis during a White House briefing with Japanese Prime Minister nope, not going to do that one. Fox News reporter Peter Doocy. Dropped Doocy. Fox News reporter Peter Doocy seized. I am not good at reading. Seized the moment and asked Donald Trump about Elon Musk's posts. Elon Musk said, I love Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man. What does the First Lady think of that? Doocy asked. Trump shrugged off the question with his signature grin and said, oh, I think she'll be okay with it. Somehow. And somehow that's just way creepier. I have no idea why. Anyways, up next we have the major winter storm that is going to affect or is affecting the northern United States of America. Just pull up the article real quick here. Actually, gonna be an ad. Yeah, it's gonna be an ad. I don't want an ad.
Want the fastest working GLP-1?
Nope, don't want that. All right. Parts of the Northeast woke up to more than a foot of snow Sunday morning as a fast-moving winter storm packing snow, sleet, and ice across the Midwest into the Northeast late Saturday through Sunday morning. More than 15 million people from the Midwest to the Northeast were under winter alerts while the storm moved through. Those winter warnings have now expired. While the snow has mostly come to an end, travelers are expecting delays due to the weather, and officials are warning people to watch out for snow-covered slippery roads. That's the reason why I don't do live broadcasts. More than 380 flights into and out of the U.S. were canceled Sunday, with another 1,400 flights delayed according to the flight tracking website. Parts of New York State, Wisconsin, and Vermont received more than a foot of snow since it began falling on Saturday, while states from Minnesota to Maine saw just between 2.5 to 11 inches. Or, if you ask the guy next door, that's about a foot. Up next, we have another story, because Trump is just, you can't get him out of the news. Yeah. Trump says he's spoken with Putin as Russia's war in Ukraine approaches third anniversary. President Donald Trump announced in an interview published Saturday that he has spoken with President Vladimir Putin, and he wants to see people stop dying. Trump told... I can't even say that with a straight face. Anyways, it was not immediately clear when the leaders spoke, if they had spoken since Trump took office in January, and how many times. CNN has reached out to the National Security Council for clarification. Yeah, we don't really care about this. We're just going to get into the meat and potatoes. The best story this week. And, well, you know how cops are, they're always accused of eating donuts and stuff like that. Well, what if a cop decided he was going to do donuts with his cruiser? One cop did. Here's that story.
Tonight, Houston police officers who were caught on video right here doing donuts in last week's snow are now being disciplined, according to the police union.
But that didn't stop the union from firing back.
This is amazing. I don't know why I love this so much.
In a series of posts, they called him out for, quote, snitching, which he says put a target on his back.
ABC 13's Alex Bozargian joins us live. Alex, activists are worried about the message this could send. What's the union saying tonight?
Eric, the union is being pretty lighthearted about this whole thing, and
the union
that really falls in line with what they've done thus far, which is essentially troll Hammond Brown when he went public and spoke about this video. Brown says he fears for his safety and doesn't appreciate the union airing out his dirty laundry on Facebook. The union isn't denying the officers were in the wrong, but they said they were working long shifts during the storm and, quote, got a little silly at the end.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think it was going to go viral like it did.
Nor did Hammond Brown think this video...
Yeah, look at HPD, man. Look, they out here doing donuts, man.
Listen to
would set off an internet war between him and the Houston Police Officers Union.
The union did.
Leave me alone, I don't want no problems.
When Brown first spoke to ABC 13, he said officers were having reckless fun and doing exactly what they told citizens not to do.
We're human.
We like to have a good time just like they do.
The police union proceeded to poke fun at Brown for his cracked windshield on Facebook and called him a snitch.
He took it more serious, and then things may have went off the rails a little bit.
The attacks got more personal and included reposted videos of Brown ghostwriting his own vehicle.
He can't do what he does in public and then turn around and call out others.
It's really messing with me because y'all posting all my business on social media.
Oh, God, that's
y'all doing
great.
a lot to me, and y'all really getting me scared, like, because I ain't did nothing. I ain't did nothing wrong. Y'all was in the wrong.
Brown says it sets a bad precedent when police ask citizens to speak up, and when someone does, even over something minor, the union goes after them.
They were trying to be dismissive of their behavior by saying that the young man was doing something similar, but do two wrongs make it right?
University of Houston Clear Lake criminology professor Kimberly Dodson says the police union's actions were textbook retaliation and doesn't agree with them making light of the situation.
The citizens see that, and they're less likely to take the police seriously.
Brown wasn't the only Houstonian to catch officers in the middle of snow stunts. Another video was posted to social media showing a marked patrol vehicle in the Galleria also doing donuts.
They know what they did wrong. It's been taken care of. And for the public to be concerned about complaining on police officers, there's no concern there. You can complain all you want. We don't go hunting people they complain on police officers. That's not what we do.
Community activists say it begs the question of the purpose of airing out Brown's dirty laundry and how that may impact public trust going forward.
You wanted to send a message to all other young men in this community and everywhere else that if you expose police misconduct, we're going to target you.
That's HPD.
I'm Alex Bozargian, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Okay, so oh man, I hope that made you laugh like it made me laugh. That was golden. Oh man, that was golden. So, anyways, I mean, you have those videos out there. Anybody could have gotten their hands on them. The fact that you allowed the local news to then talk about them publicly instead of just being like, yeah, I'm just gonna drop it, blah 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 blah. Like, bruh. Did you see his face? He's so bug eyed, like, I don't know what happened. Okay, all right. Sorry. That is not what this show is about. Yeah, it is. I don't know what I'm talking about. Sorry. Okay. All right. So now we are going to go on to section. I don't know what I'm doing here. Told you. All right, we're going to go on to segment 3, the stress and negativity reset. Put you in one of these places right here that just looks so beautiful. Let's go ahead and let's get ourselves ready to reset. All right, we've talked about the good stuff. We've covered the news. And now it's time to reset. This segment is all about shaking off the stress, letting go of the negativity, and clearing out those mental cobwebs. Mental reset. Let's start by taking a moment to actually breathe. Inhale deeply through your nose and exhale through your mouth. I want you to do this with purpose. If you're sitting down, feel the weight of your body in the chair. If you're walking, feel the ground beneath you. Let yourself be present in the moment. And if you're laying down, well, good for you. You're already one step closer to being reset. We're always running towards something, away from something, or simply trying to stay ahead of the chaos. But in all that running, we forget to stop and just be. We're not just human doings. We're human beings. So let's shift gears for a second and make space to be. Take another deep breath in. And out. I know it sounds simple, but you'd be amazed at how much clarity a few seconds of focus can give you. We're always so caught up in what we think we should be doing, but right now, there's no should. Just you. Letting go of negativity. Negativity is like an old sweater you don't wear anymore, but you still keep it around because you might need it later. It's time to let go of that sweater. If there's something in your life that's constantly weighing you down, whether it's guilt, resentment, bitterness, or just the pressure of unmet expectations, it's time to drop it. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. In fact, it can feel like you're trying to take off a sweater made of cement. But here's the deal. The longer you hold on to that negativity, the more it holds you. And that energy, it isn't helping you grow. So I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to picture yourself standing in front of a mirror. Behind you, imagine a pile of all that negativity. Whether it's something you're holding on to or something that's been handed to you. Now, picture yourself turning around and walking away from it. Step by step, you're walking into your freedom. And with each step, you're feeling lighter, feeling that weight lift bit by bit. Now, let's talk stress. Stress is like a weather forecast in your head. It comes in waves, but just because you feel a storm doesn't mean it's going to last forever. Stress often comes from a sense of being out of control. But here's the truth. There are things we can control, and there are things that we can't. You can't control your boss's attitude or how the traffic is going to be on the way home. But you can control your response. You can control how you show up for yourself. If you're in a season where stress feels like a constant companion, take this truth with you. It is okay to let go of the things that don't serve your peace. I'll say that again. It is okay to let the things that It is okay to let go of the things that don't serve your peace. Ask yourself, is this stress I'm holding onto? Let me try that again. Ask yourself, is this stress I'm holding onto mine to carry, or is it someone else's baggage I'm picking up along the way? Choose to let go of what isn't yours. So, if you've listened to the podcast, you know that I love to give tips and tricks and what have yous, whatever's. Yeah? Okay, cool. So, here are some practical steps to release stress. No, it is not masturbation. Don't say it. This is a family broadcast, Kyle. Jeez. Number 1, identify your stressors. Get specific. What's causing your stress? Write it down if you need to. Don't let it stay tangled up in your mind, spilling over into everything you do. Write it out. Let it breathe and give it a place to exist. On paper, not in your head. Number 2, release and let go. Once you've written it down, take a moment to physically release it, whether it's crumpling up that piece of paper and throwing it away or letting your hands relax. Physically acknowledging the release can help you feel lighter. Number 3, choose gratitude. Gratitude shifts your perspective. Try listing 3 things you're thankful for right now. It doesn't have to be big, just 3 things, no matter how small. When you focus on gratitude, you'll refocus your energy on what you can control. Number 4, stress loves a still body. Movement is a game changer. Even a 5-minute walk or stretch can clear your mind and reset your nervous system. You deserve peace. And you don't need to wait until things are calm to have it. Start with the small shifts and watch how they ripple through your day. Hey, if you're loving tonight's show, I want to remind you about my other podcast, That's Life. It's a mix of societal breakdowns, psychological insights, and biblical wisdom that you won't want to miss. We talk about real life topics with real honesty and real love. Catch it every week wherever you get your podcast, and make sure you like and subscribe, because life is just better when we're in it together. All right. All of the talking, excuse me for just a second. All of the talking that I have done tonight has apparently killed my throat. Has led us to this moment. And this is what I like to call the Sunday evening reset. I bombed it already. This is what I'd like to call the signature Saturday evening, We're going to get there, Kyle. Can we try it again? Sure. This is what I like to call the signature Sunday evening reset sermon brought to you by me, your host and pastor, Kyle Fields. Tonight we're talking about freedom. Not the kind you find in a bank account or political system, but the kind that comes from knowing Jesus. Too many of us live trapped by expectations, by fear, by the idea that we aren't enough. But Jesus didn't come so we could live bound. He came to break chains. Tonight's key scriptures are John chapter 8, verse 36. So, if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. Galatians chapter 5, verse 1. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. And Romans chapter 8, verses 1 and 2, there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Breaking free from. So we're going to talk about a couple of different topics of things that we can break free from with the help of Jesus Christ and our Lord and Savior. And so breaking free, and number one is breaking free from the fear of judgment. How many times do we hold back because we're afraid of what people think? We measure our worth based on others' opinions. We shape ourselves to fit the idea of who we should be. But here's the truth. The people's opinions don't define you. God does. And his words say you are fearfully and wonderfully made. In Psalms 139:14. Fear of judgment can keep you chained, but Jesus is calling you to live in freedom of knowing you are loved unconditionally. Breaking free from past mistakes. Some of us are living like we're still wearing chains of our past. We replay old mistakes over and over, letting them dictate our worth. But listen, if God has forgiven you, why are you keep punishing yourself? Isaiah 43:18 says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past." Jesus didn't die for your future. He didn't just die for your future, he died for your past too. You are free to move forward. Sorry, I just want everybody to know that he did die for your future as well. I got into it. Anyways, you are free to move forward. Break free from approval of others. We exhaust ourselves trying to be enough for people who were never meant to validate us. We bend ourselves into pretzels to fit into someone else's mold, forgetting that we've already been molded by the Creator. When you realize that God's love is not just performance-based, you start to walk in freedom. Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Jesus didn't ask us to prove ourselves. He simply invites us in to rest in his love. What about the chains we don't even notice? Sometimes bondage isn't obvious. It's in little things. the toxic relationships we keep holding on to, the lies we believe about ourselves, the guilt we refuse to let go of. But Jesus didn't come to loosen the chains. He came to break them. So this is a call to walk in freedom. Tonight, I want you to name the chain that is holding you back. Call it out. And then declare, I am not bound. I am not trapped. I am free. See, the enemy wants you locked up in fear, regret, and comparison. But Jesus came to unlock the door. Walk through it. Step into your freedom. Let the chains fall away. You are free. And nothing, no past, no mistake, no person can ever take that away from you. As we close tonight, I just want you to remember this truth. Freedom isn't something we work for. It is something we walk in. Jesus paid the price for our freedom. It already has been bought. Now we just have to live like we believe it. Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for this wonderful, just spiritual cleansing this evening. I want to, it's definitely wouldn't have been possible without you. And I just want to say thank you so much. I pray for everyone that is listening or everyone that is going to be listening, because this will be streaming after I get done. Lord, just be with them and help them through the week. And, be there like you always are. God, I ask this in your absolute holy name. Amen. Before we wrap up tonight, I just want to take a moment to remind you to walk in your freedom. Whatever chains you're carrying, be it fear, past mistakes, or the need for approval, Jesus came to break them. Walk into your freedom tonight and know you are loved, you are enough, and you are free.
I've been knocked down, I've been bruised and scarred, felt the weight of the world.
Thank you so much for joining me tonight. The first episode of Sunday Evening Reset. I hope that this episode has helped you reset your mindset, find peace in the chaos, and walk into the freedom that Christ has already won for you. Join me next week, same time, same place. We've got another powerful episode coming for you your way. And remember, until next time, do you, but do it with love and affection. I'm Kyle Fields, and this is the Sunday Evening Reset.
You find your strength when you don't look behind. You gotta lose your way to find the light. Sometimes it takes the dark